For the Q&A, I will start with a question that I think probably came up just most recently after this discussion. So this is from Arena. Do you offer the same salary for the same role, irrespective of location of an employee? So irrespective of where they're based or not. So I think this is an open question to, anyone. I don't know who wants to answer this one.
I can quickly start. No, we don't. For us, the location still drives the salary bands. But we are looking also into the regional salary bands and also the global ones for the very top roles, where indeed, you know, the talent is global and it's a bit different game. But other than that, it's still the local market that drives majority of the ranges for us.
Okay, thanks, Kai.
I'd say this, Angela, is that what we see on the market is people, despite all the hype, I think I did a post recently, at least less than 5 or 6% of companies actually globalizing pay ranges. I mean, when we looked at our data. However, what happens, it used to be a very city-based job market, and it's moving to more and more of a like country-based market. Like people used to discriminate a lot between London and outside of London, and salaries are converging at a national level on the market. But the hype of everyone is now paying US salaries to everyone or whatever is mostly hype.
Lisa, do you have any different perspective on this one, or on how things are done?
When we designed our compensation philosophy, we said that we definitely would pay differently per country, like looking at the local market. But as we only have 2 locations in Germany, we're paying the same right now to both cities. But obviously also aware that there are different costs of living. And I think we also probably need to look into this again, even in one country.
Okay, and I have a question from myself, just to you all. So what I noticed, so before COVID, for example, when we were on site in the offices, a lot of companies were hiring talent from different countries in the world, right? And one of the things that they offered as part of their benefits or compensation was a relocation budget. So some companies that could afford this would offer, like, let's say, I don't know, 3,000 euros or 4,000 or something, or 1,000 euros for relocation, which the candidate could allocate to maybe moving and visa processes and all that. Do you feel that now with the obviously post-COVID, with hybrid and remote working, have you seen a change in companies offering relocation budgets? Is it something that companies still consider, especially with hiring now hybrid or remotely? Or Lisa, for yourself, if you're hiring from other countries, is this something that you would offer?
Yeah, so we are definitely offering it. So we are often offering visa support, so like process support, but then also a budget depending on, is the person relocating from a different country in Europe or even abroad outside of Europe? Is the person coming with their whole family, like kids, dogs, partner? So then we have like different budgets, but we definitely do offer support there.
Anything else to add from Virgil or Kai? Otherwise, we can move on to the next question. All right, so the next question is here. Do you experience salary compression, i.e. new talent is hired at a higher salary than the existing employees?
If you want me to go in, it's like it's a natural norm of the market. It's especially true, and it's been especially true in the past few years when you look at data when you look at the comparison of like new employees or like band position, or even market position of new employees on average. Once again, because of what I've said, right? The market is mostly defined by who you hire, and on average, you have more budget to hire than you have budget to increase. It's always been the case. So even in a slower market like that, it tends to be the norm, but it's much less the norm than it was like a year and a half, 2 years or 3 years ago, where new hire were getting in at crazy amounts in terms of difference with existing people.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
I would maybe continue. So we try not to, right? If the skills and experience is equal, we try not to. But I would be lying if I would say that it's not happening occasionally. I think thankfully we do have the salary bands and we have pretty clear guidelines around, which really much help us. Other than that, I think it's easy to happen, especially if you are after a talent that is hard to find, and ultimately you then need to choose. You either pay more or you lose the talent. I have seen companies who have actually put in a program that every time that salary compression happens, they actively also adjust the internal people's salaries accordingly in order to not lose them to the market. I guess pros and cons for that approach as well. But if you have, I think, compensation structure in place, then you can pretty much avoid that. But yeah, occasionally that can happen.
Thank you. Okay, then the next question is, do you consider that home office is no longer an option? And then there's a follow-up to it. Are there going to be salary reductions from home office? I imagine this person is asking, do you think home office is no longer an option? And would there be salary reductions for people that are working from home?
Well, maybe being the one speaking now, but no, I actually, well, as we discussed previously, ultimately it's the company's choice and how they define them. And I think all possibilities are out there, which is great, right? You can choose to be a company who is fully remote and this is okay. And you attract certain type of talent who prefers that. And then you can also be a company who prefers to have people back in the office because they actually see value, that this is how they create value and create their business. So I really much like the variety. So therefore, I don't think that home office is going to disappear. It's there to stay. It's just that I think now companies will try to find what fits for them. Hybrid seems to be something that everybody's comfortable with, but I actually think it's good that we have variety and people can then also choose, depending on the preferences and life situation.
Anything to add, Lisa or Virgil? I think
I agree to what Kaya said, and yeah, definitely I don't see a point in having different salaries for home office compared to office employees.
All right. Okay.
So I think it's, if I want to be contrarian, Angela, I think it was a Google policy that leaked out. Was that a year ago? It feels like a lifetime away already. That leaked out when they say they will ask employees, they will normalize employees' pay based on location. So people whose compensation has been allied to their San Francisco office or Palo Alto, Menlo Park office, where we're going to be, but we're living 1 hour and a half away. They've been told, you know what, your city is a cost of living difference of like minus 20%. So you're going to get getting a 20% pay cut, or you're coming to the office every day now. So actually, there are some companies doing that. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think I am, but like to show another example, Salesforce have been saying that they will compensate people for coming to the office on like a per day spent at the office basis. So they choose the option, maybe it's in a pilot, maybe it's in the US, but I'm fairly sure they've been doing that. Saying anyone that comes back to the office, instead of being a mandatory imposed to everyone, saying, hey, we'll throw a bit of money out there, which is interesting because you want them to do it for the money or for something else, but hey, their compensation philosophy, their culture. So great that they're doing something very radical.
That's interesting to hear. Thanks for sharing, Virgil. I will go to the next question now. I'm aware that we have about 9 minutes. So this is from, how does I it here live? How can we at the same time become more and more tailored to each employee to optimize the experience while maintaining a sense of fairness and decency within the workforce?
I don't know why flexibility and tailoring compensation will go against fairness if it's a choice selected by the employee, or decency, unless decency means like the choice of flexibility can be an insult to decency. For example, unlimited holidays. If you have unlimited holidays and people end up taking none, then I think you have an issue, right? But overall, I think the ultimate dream to me in terms of compensation and benefits will be completely infeasible for now. You get to every employee, say, hey, you have an overall budget of this, and you can get more or less cash, more or less equity, potentially more or less leave, more or less variable pay to an extent, and everyone could get the benefits they want for their situation right now. Maybe it could be sports, maybe it could be like a nursery accommodation or financing for some people, or getting more equity because they are more willing to take risk and less cash. I think flexibility and compensation overall is the ultimate dream. And I don't certainly think it goes against fairness if it's on the employee's choice. That's an interesting thought, because maybe I'm missing something that Kaye and Lisa will tell me I missed.
I guess one thing that I have been thinking, but I kind of think I've also found solution, at least for myself, is yes, that if you have the flexible way in regards that you will pay some a little bit more and some a little bit less, you know, as a starting, I mentioned, you know, performance. So I think that this can create unfair pay if your decisions have not been solid and aligned and conscious, right? That if you just, you know, if you do the equal pay analysis and suddenly you realize, I don't know, but somehow it happens that, you know, females tend to get a bit less than males, and I have no understanding how it happened because we never were intentional around it. So I think that this is, you know, you need to know based on which you make this differentiation. It has to be conscious, it has to be fair, it should not discriminate your employees. And I think if you have those bits and pieces in place, then you will be fair, and you also can easily become transparent how much you want or whether the regulations will kick in. So there's no need to be afraid of the transparency if you know how you made your decisions and you see that these have been done in a very right way.
Awesome. Thank you.
I agree. I think you need to, I think you need to have clear which parts of your compensation are stable and which parts you can be flexible around and adapt to individuals.
Awesome. And this next question, maybe Lisa, you could kick off with this one as well. Do you, let me answer this. Do you align benefits across locations?
Yes, we do have the same benefits across locations, and we recently discovered that in Frankfurt there, for example, like for the urban sports benefit we have in Frankfurt, there are like super few studios that are participating. So we're like, okay, for them it's not really a benefit. And now we are offering a different sports platform for Frankfurt and then urban sports for Berlin, like these small changes. But other than that, it's aligned benefits.
Okay. And Kaye, what's your experience at Bolt? Are the benefits the same across?
No, unfortunately not, given the 45 locations. So I think benefit market in general, like if we could, we would align 100%, but we can't. We need to address the market differences. First of all, you know, what is relevant for that particular market, but also what the employees value and need there. What we try to have aligned though is like the umbrella, what type of things we want to support and where do we want to make our bets. But a lot of work with that one to really have the similar experience, the similar kind of that you somehow push in the company's culture into what you're offering also in benefits. A lot of work there.
Yeah. I agree. I think to add on to that, also from the experience I had supporting some companies, especially companies that had, for instance, a US entity and then maybe a company in Berlin. For instance, with the US candidates, they had benefits, for instance, like some money put into their 401k or maybe specific benefits that are more like aligned with that market. And then in Europe, also different kind of benefits aligned. So I think to answer that, especially for companies that are hiring in different locations, you also have to account to that geography and what is important, but then make sure everything is still aligned, that it's not too far off in terms of being too like unfair, but then you try and find a balance in that way, I think. Yeah.
I think there, if we link back to what we said about being intentional in your reward strategy, Kaye's point is super right. You can't harmonize benefits everywhere. Internationally, right? Nationally you can, but internationally you can't. But I think it's good that you take hard stance on some things, right? For example, it'd be like, regardless of location, we won't go under 2.5 months, 3 months of maternity leave, right? Even in countries where it's legal to do 1.5 months. Or for example, we want to be above average or strong on health insurance, And health insurance is different every country, but what we know is we're going to come into the country, what the market standards are, and take an above market standard, and maybe be paying that much in one location and that much in location. Doesn't matter. We just want to be above average, above market standard. And then for the rest, you localize per market specificity, but maybe you have 1, 2, 3, or maybe more strong stances on benefits you want to ensure that culturally are important to you, and that you want to at least have a common positioning or a minimum layer, I think, as the two interesting angles to look at when you implement an international benefits policy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Virgil. So I'll just have one more question, because obviously we have 2 more minutes. But in case anyone has any follow-up questions for Virgil, Lisa, or Kai, please feel free to connect with them on LinkedIn or reach out to them directly as well. I'm sure they'll be happy to answer. This is a question more from the candidate side, so the people who are actually looking for jobs. Do you have any tips in terms of how because a lot of candidates don't know what salary to ask for example, or like what is the range, or what should I say in the interview process, because I don't want to maybe get less or, not be compensated fairly. So are there any tips you would give such candidates?
So, well, I think still proactively asking is not a bad thing, right? Being curious about the job, about how much it pays. Nowadays, there's also a lot of data out there in the internet, so you can do some homework, but also I think asking never hurts, right? If the company then is not giving you answers, is, putting the ball back to your yard, I guess this also shows something. But I think, yes, ask and think that what makes importance for you, because ultimately you will be the one who will be working there, right? So nothing to lose.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's also about how you are asking. I mean, if it's the first thing in an interview and it seems like you're just motivated by the base salary, then it's something different to just, you had your first talk, you're interested in the company, you said what other things motivate you, and then you're like, hey, I would also like to know what's the salary. I think that's a super fair point, because obviously it's important for everyone.
Nice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks to everyone that has attended. It's been lovely to have you here. Thank you so much, Virgil, Kai, and Lisa, for your time, your insights. It was a pleasure. Hopefully we can